I've had a few people ask me why I use my own graphite transfer paper instead of buying store-bought, so I'm going to show you how and why I make my own. Transfer paper is exactly what it sounds like. It's used to transfer one image to another surface. Transferring an image is a very common thing for illustrators, old graphic designers, people doing ceramics, tattoo design, and even fine art. When I taught art at the university, I would often have students who would spend hours and hours on a drawing, and then they would want to come in and maybe add paint or charcoal, and it was very useful for them to keep their original intact and make a transfer onto the paper or canvas that they planned to paint the final copy on. I don't use transfer paper that often, but sometimes it's really handy. I thought it would be fun to do a comparison, so I bought a few different types of transfer paper, and then I also have my original to compare. I've taken this simple design and I'm going to make a transfer with each of the 4 different types of paper. These first 2 transfers are done with more of a carbon paper. This one is the store-bought graphite paper, and then finally the handmade graphite paper. Now let's try to erase them. These first 2 don't erase at all. The store-bought and handmade graphite paper both did completely erase, but if you remember, the store-bought graphite image was very faint and difficult to see in comparison to the handmade graphite paper. You can see the difference here in the sheen of the store-bought versus the handmade. Also, the store-bought graphite paper is really expensive compared to something that I can make at home for basically free. Another thing I like about my handmade graphite paper is that I can get multiple uses out of it. Even after I've used it and you can see that there are some impressions where I've worn away some of the graphite, I can just take my pencil and go over it and build up more graphite on top, just like this. Another nice thing about the handmade graphite paper is all you need is a pencil and paper. I like to use a thicker tracing paper and a 6B or 8B pencil. I layer it both ways, smooth it out a little bit with a tissue, and Bob's your uncle, you're all done.